Our stakeholders are asking government to seal the porous borders to halt corruption at the ports or entry points. This follows a JoyNews documentary which uncovered how custom officials take bribes to allow traders to transport smuggled goods from neighboring countries. These officials take bribes as little as 20 Ghana cedis to allow traders who have evaded paying taxes on their goods cross the borders. Let's watch excerpts of that documentary, after which we'll speak to a former Trades and former Deputy Trades Minister, Murtala Mohammed.
We have driven through several checkpoints with these goods without tax stamps from Aplau through to Dabala to Segakope without being flagged. Our movement through these checkpoints was smooth until the customs officials in her mid-30s flagged us to stop at the Segakope checkpoint. The investigative team assumed this customs official who stopped us was to inspect these goods would get us to pay taxes on the assorted drinks. But we were in for a shocker. She demanded the team pay a bribe of 400 cedis. She allowed us to pay 200 cedis after some minutes of negotiations.
Because how much? How much?
I have succeeded in meeting one of the smuggling kingpins in Elubo, who identified himself as Error. For every box of rice he brings from Ivory Coast to Ghana, he charges 20 cedis. It is this amount he pays off to customs officials he works with to facilitate his business. If he can transport 500 bags of rice to Elubo, he will earn 10,000 cedis.
Me charge there saying, and back 20 cities. The other say be back 300, number 320. In the meantime, the dear measure bear 500 bags. It's me drew and much church. The customs one and see a bear more day. I know about 20 cities in man, me met it. There were 20 cities. No problem.
The investigative team decided to test these claims made by the traders and commercial drivers. We bought several boxes of rice from neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. At the Elubo border post, this customs official, who was identified as Kujo, allowed our boxes of rice bought from La Côte d'Ivoire into Ghana. We did not pay the statutory taxes. When the team got to the customs checkpoint at Samir, our vehicle was inspected by two customs officials. They asked me to follow them to their office. They demanded I paid a bribe of 20 cedis and left me to go with the boxes of rice.
So I'm going to use it to celebrate small S-man.
What do you have?
Rice.
How much?
3.
You are going to use it.
I'll dash down to my pastor. And then other people. We are in the festive season.
Informs you the nitty-gritty. I'll dash you one and pay for the two.
The two, how much will I pay? 20. Thank you very much.
Here's the book for me to leave.
Hey, thank you very much.
My number is
I thought you were coming to give me receipt.
Oh. But I will say it when we pay the duty. The duty is
Let's get some reaction to this. The former Deputy Trades Minister, Murtala Mohammed, joins us via phone. Thank you for your time here on JoyNews today. First of all, your initial reaction to that documentary.
Hello?
Mr. I can hear you loud and clear. You've watched the documentary. What's your initial reaction to it?
Hello? Hello?
I'm hoping
Hello?
we have better connection to you. I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
Great. You've watched the documentary and the concerns being raised about the smuggling of goods through our porous borders. As a former trades minister, what's your initial reaction to this documentary?
Well, first and foremost, I was not surprised when I first saw the excerpts of your documentary. I must admit that I haven't watched the entire documentary. And the reason why I wasn't surprised was that sometime 2014, 2015, when President Mahama reshuffled me from Minister of Information to Trade, I went there and the first, assignment I got was that the small rice importers, and when I say small rice importers, those who bring this rice and other poultry products through our borders, they petitioned the Ministry of Trade to lift a ban which was imposed on their activities by the Honorable Haruna Idrisu's administration. Now, the big rice importers also petitioned that the ban should not be lifted. So what I did, when I had a discussion with the then minister, and he asked that we needed to constitute an independent team to do some investigation. So I used Kofi Kapito. And mind you, Kofi Kapito at that time was a very strong and leading member of the NPP. I used some journalists. I remember, I think multimedia, we had a journalist, we had someone from City, one from PSFM, another journalist we used. The ministry found resources and asked them to go there pretending to be businessmen, bring in rice from Ivory Coast to Ghana, and see whether they will pay the required taxes or import duties. When they went and they came back, the recommendation of the Kofi Kapito's team was that we should maintain the ban on the importation of rice by the small rice importers into this country. And that explained why we were able to maintain a little over $500 million being spent on the importation of rice and poultry products into this country. Unfortunately, when this government, the first thing they did was that they lifted the ban. Now with the ban, it was illegal to bring in rice into this country through such mediums. Unfortunately, it was lifted. So when I saw the excerpts of your documentary, I was never surprised at all because that has always been the case. And that was the reason why the ban was indeed imposed in the first place. People who don't pay the required taxes, they bring in the goods, the state is denied the needed revenue, and the little money that is made are made by custom officers and other officials who are working at the borders. And I really don't think that it helps this country as far as revenue mobilization is concerned.
Now, for the business community, yesterday we engaged the president of GUTA, and they raised concerns about taxes and how it is burdening the business community. The reason why most of them are looking for means and ways to evade taxes. Do you think that is also a problem?
Well, that is a factor. There have been an increase, but the question is that if the reason of taxes, higher taxes, there's no denying the fact that this government has imposed an acceptable level of taxes on such rice, such importers. But how come that we are spending more and more importing? We have the capacity to produce enough rice to feed this country, and we have done it before. In 2014, President Mohammed's government succeeded in reducing the importation of rice into this country by 40% and increased the production of rice by 60%. You know, myself and some of our colleagues are rice producers. As I talk to you now, I have thousands of bags of rice which are produced last season in Yaba, Honorable Mustafa constituency. Ajimamenu, the former minister for health, has thousands of bags of rice he produced that the state did not buy. You have many other colleagues. I have had some conversation with the Minister for Agriculture, and they promised that they were going to buy, they haven't. How come that NADMO is still buying imported rice to support people who are victims of certain catastrophic events in this country? NADMO, buffer stock, is still buying imported rice. So it isn't the case that we don't have the capacity to produce. It is the case that we don't have the needed vision and policies to ensure that we eat what we can. We are now spending over $2 billion in the importation of rice and poultry products into this country. And that is part of the reason why our city is losing its value. Because it means that every year importers would have to look for over $2 billion to bring in things you have the capacity to produce. So I think that clearly these are some of the issues. Another point that I think that needs to raise has to do with the bonded warehouse, because that was one thing. I submitted a report as the Deputy Minister for Trade when we were handling it. I submitted a report that we have more than 10,000 bonded warehouses across the country. And the bonded, in Accra alone, we have thousands of bonded warehouses. And what they do is that you bring in the goods, you don't pay the import duties on them. As and when you sell, then you pay the necessary taxes or import duties on them. And we realized that at the time, you can find perishable products, tin tomatoes and rice, that those operators of bonded warehouses say they've been keeping this for 3 years. How could you keep a tin tomatoes in a bonded warehouse for 3 years? So it was a collusion between...
So a lot of work needs to be done.
Hello?
Yes, so I'm saying a lot of work needs to be done. Thank you so much.
A lot of work needs to be done. A lot of work needs to be done about this smuggling and the corruption that, is pervasive as far as the import and export of such commodities are concerned.
Thank you so much for joining us here on JoyNews today. Let's give you some...